They say music feeds the soul and food feeds the heart. So please join us for season 2 of Brunch with a Black Man, where we sit down with Black men from across the world who talk about their experiences with mental health, mental wellness, and how they are taking on their own mental health journey. We sit down over brunch to break it down. Make sure you join us for season 2 of Brunch with a Black Man. Hello and welcome to another edition of Brunch with a Black Man. I'm your host, Miracle Jones, and we are here with Roy Wood Jr.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, from one southern baddie to another.
Yes.
Very grateful.
Alabama's in the building here.
But we just want to get into it. Can you talk a little bit about how you grew up? Where did you develop your sense of humor?
So I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama on the west side. And, I had a pretty normal childhood. Normal in the sense that there were games, it was crime, but, I went to the library. Like, my mama made me take computer classes and go get computer literacy, go read a book, play outside. I could only play in my yard. So my mom created ways to kind of keep me insulated from a lot of the stuff that was happening, the next block over. I think I got funny middle schoolish. So I knew I wanted to do comedy at age 12 when I saw Comedy Central. When they first signed on, all they showed was stand-up comedy. So it's just a channel with comedy. I saw Sinbad every other year. HBO would have a free preview. There was a time, God, I'm old. There was a time where one weekend a month, everybody in America had HBO for 3 days. Every year, for 3 days, everybody got HBO. And they would show Carlin, they showed the comic relief with Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams, Dennis Leary, like all of these just legends. And I was like, I think I can do that. And so I just always cracked jokes. I was never in the same school system for more than 2 years until high school. So you're constantly bouncing. We were in Memphis till the 3rd grade. Then we came to Birmingham. I was on the west side. Then I went to a Catholic school for a year. Then I went over to the east side, to the white side. And it brought me back to the hood for middle school. Then I went to... So every time you're dropped in these new situations, I found humor to be the common denominator for me being able to connect with people. I'm not suave. I'm not a playboy, so I'm not cool like that. So jokes was the thing. I'm not a jock. I can play, I can dribble, but I'm not the best. So athletics was never going to be my way in socially. So for me, it was cracking jokes. And once I got to high school and started playing baseball in high school and cracking jokes on the bench with the other bench warmers, that's when it all kind of started, coming together.
And so from moving from place to place, you're moving socioeconomically, racially, diversity. How were you processing these change of environments as a young Roy?
It was always the norm. I guess it's different when you move a lot. Like, it's like when you meet a military kid and they're not really traumatized about moving. They just go, no, that's what we did. So every 2 years there was some sort of social reset. And it ended up being to my advantage when I got older. And once I got back to Birmingham after college and started doing morning radio, because I've been in the boys club on 2 sides of town, because I've gone to school to every side of town, I knew everybody. I was like, there isn't a side of town where I don't have some degree of roots socially or know somebody or didn't have, oh yeah, I remember you from the thing in the summer camp. And now we can break bread together. So I never really looked at, it's like you don't know you had a weird upbringing until you meet other people. It's like, no, I was at the same school, K through 12, and never lived off this. And I'm like,
oh, that's what it's supposed to be like.
Like, oh, that's what it was. Oh, your daddy was supposed to come home every night? My daddy came home 3 nights. Oh, nice.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Got the Japanese fried chicken and the Brussels sprouts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chef.
And so you're moving around, you're developing friends, you go to college.
Yeah, FAMU.
And, shout out to our HBCUs. You go to college. How are you balancing college and comedy?
For me, like, I didn't start doing stand-up till my junior year, college experience was different though. Like I went to school. I started out in the business department. I was going to be some big Procter and Gamble executive. Man, I took one of them classes trying to learn how to read a stock page. I said, "What is this shit?" I'm going to journalism. I want to be Stuart Scott.
Okay.
I dipped immediately. And I remember Dean Mobley, rest her soul. She's the head of the business school. Florida A&M graduates more MBAs, like 5 years. Like they make Fortune 500 executives. They print them in Tallahassee. And I walked in that lady's office. I said, "I don't want to do this. Please, what other majors are there?" And she just said, "Follow your heart, but just know, baby, as a journalist, you ain't gonna never make what these graduates making over here."
She says, "Let you know when you switch up your career."
She told the truth too. My ass was making 14.5 when I got out of college.
Listen. And so while you're in college, you're also doing stand-up. You're still keeping up with that. What was the conversation like with your mom when you had to say, "Hey, I'm struggling a little bit in school because I'm doing this thing that I think I may be good at, which is making people laugh"?
It was different for me because, my first 2 years of school, I was taking classes. Then I got arrested for credit card fraud. So I was down in school. We were scamming and like buying clothes and selling the clothes on campus. Just young
I'm saying
people.
a little jump there.
Just being a nice little 18-year-old.
Okay.
No, you ain't scammed.
Huh?
You ain't scammed. Back
There are cameras.
You ain't almost go to prison.
There are cameras.
You ain't almost go to prison.
First of all, let me listen. This
Don't
administration.
do that with your hair,
this administration. I'm not admitting no crime. What is that? I don't know what a scam is.
You're right. Yeah, they liable to retroactively deport my ass. Like but you have to separate my college time into two.
Okay.
Into two.
Before
prisons.
scam.
Before arrest, after arrest.
Okay.
So before arrest, just a regular student. We scam a little bit. I go to class. I take my classes. Everything's fine. I get arrested. And the funny thing happens when you get arrested, especially at like 18, 19 years old, is that you lose your social circle. Because if the crux of your social currency is your ability to provide clothing or PlayStation games to people, and you lose that, then who are you? Why do we need to hang with you? And then you realize most of the people you hang with are also doing dirt of their own. So they can't hang with you no more because you got arrested. We don't know if you're snitching. So I lost pretty much, I went down to like maybe one or two friends. That was a pretty long time. And that's part of what got me into stand-up. Stand-up helped me deal with the loneliness and the thought at that time that I was going to go to prison. I ended up getting probation, but at the time, prison was a real possibility. And so I get suspended from school. Second semester junior year, I get suspended from school. And during that time in the suspension is when I started doing comedy. I had nothing else to do. I worked at Golden Corral 20 hours a week. That paid the bills. And the rest of my time, I was on a Greyhound, sleeping in bus stations, telling jokes to strangers anywhere I could get on stage in the Southeast. So when I got back in school, my mom was like, "Good, stop all that comedy and get your degree and go get a job." And I was like, I don't know what to tell you there, Joyce, but I think this is the job. And so, I stayed in school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I liked doing this. I didn't really do comedy with a plan or a strategy or some sort of, I'm going to do this, and then I'm Eddie Murphy. It was just, I be sad a lot. This makes me happy. I'm going to keep doing the thing that makes me happy. Now, in the meantime, if me getting this degree will keep you off my back every week about doing the thing that makes me happy, then I'm going to go and get the degree. To a large part, I probably graduated from college as a way to spite my mom. I love my mom, but it was always, "Why are you doing the comedy? Why are you doing the comedy?" And for context, my mother's a college educator. She's been in higher education for 30 years. She has 3 degrees herself. So with someone that values education like that, and you telling them, "I might not finish school," And no black mama gonna let that pass.
It's like, where they do that at?
Correct. And so the deal was essentially between me and my mom. If I make good grades every semester, you stop asking me about comedy. And that was the contract. It was just straight up, if I'm good here, you don't get to criticize me here. I was dean's list the rest of the time I was in college. And I don't know if that's because I love journalism and it was exciting and whatever, or if it was the only way to do this in peace. I give my mother credit. That broadcast journalism degree has paid 50-fold. Like, I mean, I graduate college in 2001. It's the same year that Ricky Smiley leaves Birmingham. Ricky Smiley was the king of Birmingham. And so Ricky was just radio legend. He leaves to go to Dallas to start what he has today, his whole syndicated empire or whatever. So I have an opportunity to slide in and replace Ricky. And that journalism degree is a large part of why I was able to do it. Because just being a comedian is cool, but to be able to walk into the studio and go, no, I understand every production aspect of this show. I know how to edit. I could run this board probably better than you. That helped me get in the game. That same journalism degree, I don't know if I'm on the Daily Show without that degree. It definitely gave me a leg up, on other people that were auditioning and, trying to get the role, but it definitely is coming to play time and time again.
So you talked about that time in your life afterwards, like your loneliest time. Was that the time like you first heard about like mental health and mental well-being, or would that take you like later in life to first hear about like depression, anxiety? When was like the first time you were introduced to those concepts, even if not the actual words themselves?
There's no mental health in the black community, at least not where I'm from. There's religion. There's did you pray about it? Pray to Jesus about it. And Jesus is the first out. Not a knock on Jesus, but there's also other tools you can use in conjunction with Jesus. I don't think I really heard about mental health until like the first time I became aware of, depression's a real thing that people deal with, was the first comedian I knew who killed himself. And that was mid-2000s. His name was Michael Roof. Very funny white boy. And that was like when I realized in this job, suicide's a real thing. And then you start putting the pieces back together, like after the fact. Like I started in 98, right? And so over that time, I opened for a ton of alcoholics. I've walked in rooms with comedians and seen the table of drugs and the naked women. I've seen guys who literally will just be backstage crying about something, won't tell me what, and then like a switch flip, walk on stage and be the happiest person you ever seen for 60 minutes. I was just like, oh man, he going through something. But that first suicide, that was the one. Because then it was like, this is a real thing that people in this community deal with. Like you always thought like suicide was like, at least I thought entertainers killing themselves was something that was like solely about big name acts, if you will. You get into like a Robin, but like, okay, he's super rich and then kill himself. No, it'd be broke folks killing themselves too. And the Michael Roof suicide was the first time in the comedy that I experienced the way the comedy community will tend to lift each other up and try to come together. And that's when you first started hearing the chatter about mental health. But therapy, you may as well be talking about buying a Benz. You went to a therapist? No, I barely go to the dentist. I can't afford all of this extra stuff you're talking about. But, you start figuring out ways to deal and cope, and you self-diagnose a little bit. And you go, okay, well, let me stay in a good mood so I know this and this helps. But it may not be till years later when you really start doing a diagnostic on yourself emotionally that you go, okay, I was drinking like that with all those people because I was lonely because I didn't want to go to the hotel room. I spent time with too many women or too many people who just wanted my money, or like everybody's trying to figure out a way to escape all of this. I mean, hell, it wasn't until I moved to New York that I went to a therapist. Like I was having, like, I needed Daily Show money to be able to go, all right, maybe now. But at that point in my career, like as we speak today, I know well over well over 20 comedians that have killed themselves, like straight up suicide, and then maybe another 7 or 8 that were just drug overdose, like accidental overdoses. But even in that, the overdoses, what were you medicating? What were you running from? So you become very aware of it. The thing that sucks, though, is that after a while, you're aware of it, but after a while, you become numb to it. And you have to make sure that your numbness somehow doesn't keep you from, like, making sure that your own stuff is together, that making sure that you're in a good mood, that you're in a good space. I got a son. I need to be here for him. So I'm not trying to slip and slide off no, emotional slope. But it's about how do you maintain. So you go to therapy. I've been to therapy for a couple of years. And you go to therapy, but then the balance is, how do you maintain your health and care about your health while becoming more and more, I don't know if callous is the right word. It's what I'm saying sounds callous, but it's not. It's the idea of the self-preservation. Yeah. I don't know of many other people who have an occupation where every year you can hear about someone who killed themselves, other than maybe, say, first responders or troops. I know it's very prevalent in the veteran community, suicide. But I know that this doesn't feel like a normal occupational hazard for most people's jobs. But for me, it's such a norm that I can't be sad about that.
So how do you check in with yourself? As you said, you gotta make sure that you're like, okay, so like what is like your Roy check-in process, your Roy tune-up special?
I think for me, the best thing I can do on a regular basis is do things that have nothing to do with my career. I don't believe work-life balance. I believe that's a myth. This idea that work somehow cannot fulfill you and that it's not something you legitimately enjoy, and that the only way to find peace is through stillness and staring at a tree and walking through the park. All right, if that works for you, fine. I enjoy what I do. So sometimes just staying up late and working. And they'll go, oh, that's not healthy. I don't know what to tell you. Like that brings me peace. It's that. It's doing a bunch of nothing with my son. Sometimes it's baseball, or watching. I got all the stupid batting cage VR apps and whatever. But sometimes it's a matter of just finding ways to do things that make me happy, or doing a bunch of nothing, and also not talking to people.
Well, apologize.
Like
apologies for that. Yeah.
Like sometimes you're straight up. Like I remember one time, man, I was supposed to go to Japan to go to this baseball game with my son. And there was a flight issue. I wasn't able to go. My son went on with his mom. And most everybody thought I was going to Japan. Because when I got off the plane to not go, everyone who knew I was going to Japan, I just didn't tell them that I didn't go. And most of them did not contact me because they thought I was in Japan. It's the most peaceful 4 days. And I was like, oh, my walk through the forest is just no contact. Because my entire life is people. Professionally, it's people. It's talking. It's going and doing stuff and shaking hands and studio audiences and then a live show and there's 1,000 people there and then there's a meeting. Like, it's an airplane. It's just people. Every day for me is people. So to have 4 days with I didn't even open my front door. That was nice. That was my table of drugs with naked women.
Those like
I don't know if
Nintendo
that's the right
people.
analogy.
No, I mean I get it. That's like, but there is something about just like being able, just like to relax and breathe and just like be by yourself. And
There
it is
is,
so yeah.
we have forgotten as a people, especially black people, that there's a relationship with yourself that comes before any relationship with anybody else. If you ain't good with you, you can't be a good parent, you can't be a good spouse, you can't help your mama and them. You ain't gonna be worth a damn. So you have to focus on that relationship. And sometimes that means just being alone, being in your thoughts. And like that was those 4 days in Japan. It's probably it was a very important reset. It really was. I hate to say it, but it was dope. And then on Friday when I was supposed to like been back in America, phone started binging again a little bit more, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, now I know how to have these, every couple of days, take a half day, and don't, some people say don't pick up the phone. Don't start your day with your phone in the hand. Start with peace and isolation. There's a lot of truth to that. There really is. But for me, it's just about being alone in my thoughts. One of the things that I lost in moving to, hell, even moving to LA in '07, one of the things that I lost was the time in the car driving. My first 9 years of stand-up comedy, I drove 500,000 miles between two vehicles. And so that's a lot of time just alone in the car. And this is pre-podcast.
Okay.
So you ain't just sitting and listening to Shannon Sharp or Brunch with Black Men. Like you ain't doing it. You listening to rap music and they playing the same 20 songs. You got a couple albums. You got some sports talk radio I listen to. But there's a lot of time you just in the car with the radio off. Just staring at the glass, thinking of thoughts, thinking of jokes, but you're alone and with yourself. And that relationship is forfeited once you live a life of a frequent flyer. Air travel is not the same as driving. It's a different mental stasis. And even coming to New York, it's even worse because now I don't even have a car. At least in LA, I had traffic to sit in.
Now you on the train?
Yeah, now I'm on the train. And you can't think on the train because you got to look to see who's trying to stab you. So, I'm just me on the train the whole day. Like, you can't live like this.
Or you get a show on the train. You can get entertained on the train.
I did a show on the train during COVID, man. They was doing train shows during the COVID restrictions.
And you talk about being here in New York. You have a nationally running program. You have this new stand-up special out. A lot of the work that you are doing now, you are reaching new pinnacles of heights in your career. And a part of that is because you took a moment to bet on yourself. Because when somebody else didn't see your worth, you were like, I'm not about to play these games with you. What was that process like for you to sit there and say, like, you know what? I know who I am. I know me. I know what I'm worth. And if you don't see it, I'm going to bet on myself.
For me, leaving the Daily Show was rooted in thinking about what was next for me career-wise and when is the right time to pursue that thing. And so I had an idea of what was next for me, and that time felt like the right time to do it. At the time when I left the show, and it's been years now, maybe 2 years. When I left the show, Jon Stewart coming back as host was not on the table. That was not being discussed. That was not something that if it was nothing I was aware of. All I knew was that, I guest hosted. I made a case for myself during that year, and it was rumored that they were going to go with Hassan Minhaj, and that fell through. And so then we went and just go, okay, well, if not Hassan, did you have a number 2 on the list? And they said something to the equivalent of just what felt like we don't know what we're going to do yet, which to me says you didn't have a number 2. You didn't have anyone else you liked. And at minimum, you're going to reopen the search. Well, if you're going to reopen the search, I don't know what else I could have done in this stretch. I guest host, rating solid, and then I do the correspondence dinner and kill that. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm saying that in the
It's
sense.
true.
No, but I'm just saying in the
Yeah.
case,
But we
if
saw
we're
it. We
building
know
a
it's true.
resume
Yeah.
to say I deserve a chance to host this show, you can't, like what Eddie Murphy said in life, you can't come much harder than that, Mr. Calhoun. So there's nothing else I can do here. If it's still going to be a consideration, which is fine. But then the question I have to ask myself is, and make no bones about it, there was an offer on the table to return as a correspondent. It's not like they like, we don't like you. It was just, we don't know what we're going to do, but we'd love to have you back as a correspondent in the interim. My feeling was, if I'm back here as a correspondent and I know that that's the ceiling, which is what I believe based on what you've said when I've asked you what your plan is. If where I am right now is my ceiling, then the next question I need to ask myself is how long do I want to operate at that altitude? And is there more to do? Answer to that is yes. So, okay, Roy, what more is there to do? Well, I think I could host something, but I don't, regardless of what's next, I don't think I can discover what's next while remaining here. I don't think I can do those two things concurrently. The job of correspondent is hard. It's a very hard job. It's a very demanding job. For 8 years straight, I never had more than 2 weeks off, ever. Like, you lucky if news break, they might call you in to do something for digital. And so your off weeks are still kind of, sort of, you're kind of. So the idea of trying to ideate anything, audition for anything, I did not feel like that would be possible while staying at the show as a correspondent. And if I believe I want to do more, I believe I can do more, and I believe that staying here restricts me from ever discovering what's over there, I have to leave. Like, it's not even, like, before we even get into standing on business or knowing your worth or you don't appreciate me, it's just simply, this is the most that I'm ever going to be able to, I believe this is the most I'm ever going to be able to achieve here. I believe I can do this. And if that's not possible here, it was very logical. Like, it wasn't even, like, the whole back and forth was probably under 36 hours of emails. Like, it wasn't a long drawn out, well, what are you going to do? It was just like, hey, Hassan's not the guy. We're resetting the search. Do you want to come back as correspondent? We're back on air next week. We need a decision. We need a decision by Wednesday. And it was Monday. And so by Monday night, I was like, oh, I'll let you. Thanks, though. And so, like, I don't land CNN, have I got news for you. If I'm still there, I don't even think I would have even gotten an opportunity to audition, because remember, when I left The Daily Show, it was an election year coming up. So if you're going to do something new, if there is a new show to be made, it is during an election year. That's when you break new political satire shows. So if I believe I'm going to do something, this is the window, not on the other side of the election. And if you look at the industry since the election, our industry is crumbling. Television production, they're making less shows. The stuff they are making, half of that they're making outside of the country. Stuff's not getting greenlit. There were only two new late night political shows that were greenlit in my time after I left The Daily Show. It was After Midnight, which is a remake of the Comedy Central show. There was After Midnight and my show at CNN. After Midnight just got canceled a week ago. They're not making new television. There's not a lot of gaps. There's not a lot of opportunities. So if you believe that you can host something, it would behoove you to leave this show right now so that you can have an opportunity. And it paid off. I don't get that show. That show doesn't even get greenlit by CNN if it's not an election year. And I guarantee you, knowing the contracts, knowing what I know now about the contracts, Comedy Central's not going to let me go in the middle of an election year to start a new show that competes against them. Mm-hmm. That's bad business. I'm going to keep you on the bench and not let you go. And if I sign a contract for a year that goes through 2024, yes, I'm getting a guest host daily show. But I don't know any of that's an option at the time. There's a bunch of guest hosts flying in for the weeks. And I'm it's like, I don't know that me guest hosting, John coming in one day and I get the other three, that might have been okay. That might have been a good situation. But that wasn't on the table at the time. You got till Wednesday.
And so I think for a lot of people, seeing you take that step, as you said, was really an indicator that as Black people, as Black professionals, okay, to better ourselves and to understand that like we can't let these corporations play with us. And so I do.
You can't wait on them. You can't wait on them. You the corporation. You run you. You just have to trust that your talents and abilities that got you there will get you to the next thing. That feeling of fear in career, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That feeling of fear is never going to leave. That's a real part of betting on yourself. I was scared when I started. I was scared when I didn't go for a journalism job after college. My degree is in broadcast. I ended up in radio. I did radio because I knew radio would afford me the opportunities to grow my stand-up. I was scared when I moved to LA in 07. Scared when I moved back home in 2010 to host a morning show. At the time, we were told that Tom Joyner was going to retire in another year or two, and that there was going to be a shift of Black radio syndication, and I wanted to be at the front of the line for consideration for national syndication. I got fired after a year and a half. Went back to LA, still couldn't book anything. Got a sitcom because my friend Steve Byrne kept lying and putting my name on the callback sheets. Even his producers didn't want me. Booked that gets canceled. Then I'm adrift for another year and a half. Barely paying bills. At this point, I've been on every cable show and done the sitcoms. You be scared, but you don't stop. Get a call from my man Neil Brennan. Hey, ma'am, I don't know if you know Trevor Noah, but he's about to come over here and take over for Jon Stewart. You want to throw your name in the hat? Like, yeah, why not? Part of why I got Daily Show was because of all the stuff I was doing on ESPN at the time. So it's like even when you down, you're still being prepared. I wasn't getting paid to be on ESPN, but that was the best TV gym I ever worked in. Was doing all of those shows on that network. You know, Sports Nation, Bomani Jones. This is Jamel Hill and Michael Smith was still on at 2 in the afternoon. They wasn't even 6 o'clock Sports Center yet. And they showed me love, man. Michelle Beadle, Max Kellerman, like all those people. So the only difference between the Daily Show exit and anything else is that this one I chose to leave. Every other time in my career, I got pushed out the car. This time I jumped. Because I know what I'm doing. And the fear is never going to leave you. So you may as well have control. So that's how I looked at it. It was very bad. I wasn't even mad. I was like, oh, y'all gonna do that? All right, cool. Well, I quit and I'm gonna figure out what to do next. In the meantime, I guess I'll try and sell a book, sold it. I guess I'll do a new stand-up special, sold that. I don't get my Lonely Flower special on Hulu if I stayed at Comedy Central. Just off the contracts. It'd be on Paramount Plus, which may not have been the best thing. You know, I'm not shitting on Paramount Plus, but I had 3 specials on Paramount Plus already. Let's try this new company over here. Let's try new things. So that's what it was.
And try new things you have, and you're being very successful. So for you, looking in the future, if you can, hopefully you're not going to be, retroactively deported. What is your like your goal or some of the next things you'd like to accomplish?
They do deport me. I'm gonna tell them I'm from England. You ever thought about what country you want to be deported to?
I do. I just want somewhere where, like, their son, maybe Senegal, maybe.
I am Jamaican, Mr. Trump. Oh, ICE agent. Is that racist? Don't get me in trouble with Jamaica. I love Jamaicans.
Listen, I just want to go somewhere where food. Jamaica's good, Belize is nice. But yes, so what is the future? What do you hope the future holds for you?
I have a book, The Man of Many Fathers, that I'm working on. Which is just really about the idea that fatherhood is communal and that we as Black men, the book is about It's a series of short stories about lessons I learned from men other than my dad. My dad died when I was 16, so I really am a village child. And I hope that that book resonates with young men who are looking for a father, and also men that are fathers. Like, to me, that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. Um, Other than that, I just have fun laughing on Saturday nights on CNN. Like, the irony is that the show that I host now on CNN, it's a little bit easier than being a correspondent because we get to laugh and we have a panel and there's more people. Whereas the correspondent, you carrying that bag by yourself. It's just you and the host up there talking, or you out in the field doing the field piece. So yeah, I'm just happy to be telling jokes and traveling and doing what I love, paying bills.
Well, Roy, we're so happy that you get to travel and pay your bills. And thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Absolutely.
And that has been this edition of Brunch with a Black Man.